will be next-gen dispute resolution, removing friction and increasing trust in new ecosystems. For this session, we have Keerthana Medarametla, Senior Curator from Agami. Agami inspires and enables ideas that solve the biggest challenges in law and justice. Agami is a non-profit organization centered around a simple idea that you and I can act to improve systems of law and justice. Agami creates opportunities to radically reshape systems of law and justice. So today we have with us Keerthana, a lawyer by education, a researcher at heart, and is passionate about building communities and creating opportunities that work better for the society, particularly in the legal system. She has completed her BA LLB from NLU, Delhi, and LLM from Harvard Law School. Please help me welcome Keerthana.
Hi everyone, can you hear me now? Awesome. Thank you, Vamsi. Thank you for the wonderful event that all of you have hosted today and for the lovely introduction, Kavita. I'm Keerthana. I'm from Agami. We are an organization that supports ideas in law and justice. Very often we think of law and justice as a tool for change, right? When we are innovating, what do the regulators say? What does the law say? How can we get past it? Or what are the policies that can be passed or orders that can be passed to enable innovation, etc. Something that we deeply care about is how can that site of change also be a space for innovation, right? Like how can law and justice itself also transform and innovate in a manner that we think of new ways of dispute resolution, legal education, not just lawyers who are resolving disputes. Citizens don't have to go to courts to get their disputes resolved, but dispute resolution can also meet citizens where they are at. So that is essentially like the essence of the work that we do at Agami, and one of the initiatives that we work closely on is online dispute resolution. And the idea is to resolve disputes outside of courts using technology, mediation, and arbitration, which becomes all the more important with the new ecosystems that are coming up, right? So with that context, I mean, we all know how payments work. That has been talked about all day today, which is payments is easy, it's accessible, it's very direct, right? When you can connect to a payment app from any website that you're on, it's easy, it's seamless, real time as well, as we heard in the morning. And so imagine something similar for dispute resolution, right? So we have grievance redressal systems, which are really important for any e-commerce platform, for any financial product, etc., to build trust in the system. So imagine having something similar for dispute resolution where there is a complaint, it's getting escalated, right? You are not satisfied, it needs to get escalated. You can now choose to explore more dispute resolution tools. And once you're clicking on the option to explore more dispute resolution tools, you're given an option to select one of the many ODR institutions that are there, right? These ODR institutions help resolve disputes outside of courts. So the video went ahead. But you click on one, you then choose mediation, arbitration, and then you provide your case information and your claim request. You initiate the case, you can track your order, the resolution process and post-resolution process happens, right? I'm going to assume that many of you here do not know what ODR or who these ODR institutions are. So before we go there, just like we all know how the court system works, right? Like you go in without a beard and like you're there aged, like thinking about the court system. So a while ago, we heard someone say like AA, we understand is not a dispute resolution platform, right? However, if we think about now for dispute resolution, you have to go to courts. This is what's going to happen to each of us, right? So So like, where are we now? Like, what does the community look like, right? So we have 15 plus ODR institutions, some of whom are here. There is the team from SamvAAd, there is the team from Webnyai. I think Kanchan's here somewhere, Kanchan's there. And there have been catalysts who've accelerated the space exponentially, including Mr. Pramod Rao, who's here, right? So what is it? There are institutions resolving disputes outside of courts using technology, mediation, arbitration. So far, they've resolved lakhs of disputes. Businesses have adopted ODR, like 100 plus banks, insurance companies, many have e-commerce platforms have adopted online dispute resolution. Judiciary has adopted online dispute resolution. Lok adalats have adopted online dispute resolution, right? So you can visit disputeresolution.online to get more information about these ODR institutions. So what are they essentially doing? They are using thoughtful technology. Like, they're thinking about like, how can technology also enable the service of dispute resolution? They're re-engineering the processes, like, as opposed to having to go through all the loops and hoops of a formal court system. How can we make it simpler, easier, verification of documents happening up front, etc. And it can all also happen asynchronously, right? So that you don't have to like coordinate timings continuously, etc. Like asynchronous communication. It closes the feedback loops as well. So that's what's happening. So it's being adopted across multiple ecosystems, like I said. So ONDC, Sahamati, NPCI, SEBI, judiciary, Lok adalats, and enterprises have started adopting ODR. And where is the ODR ecosystem moving next, right? The community is coming together to define and build a unified ODR protocol so that any ecosystem wants to integrate with multiple ODR institutions and provide users choice. You can directly plug in and connect your citizens to multiple ODR institutions, right? So this unified ODR protocol, it is to essentially make discovery of ODR institutions easier, to select an ODR service provider, to initiate a case gets confirmed, fulfillment, resolution, and then post-fulfillment, post-resolution, right? So ecosystems like this, to even be able to understand what are the kind of disputes that are getting escalated, what is the escalation rate, what is the resolution rate, time being taken, all of that critical information can really also help move the ecosystem further, right? So this is the transaction fabric that we are essentially building right now. And I'll pause now with this is a brief introduction into the ecosystem with where we are right now. Any questions? Yes. I heard you, but could you repeat
Yeah,
again?
so
Yeah.
my question is, how does ODR fit into the current legal regime? In the sense that, how do you ensure parties that agree to, resolve a dispute through ODR, that they don't later, say, okay, we are not going to follow this because this is not a court order.
Correct.
So how does, enforceability and bindingness sort of come into the picture?
Thank you. Great question. So ODR technically uses mediation and arbitration. Mediation is a collaborative dispute resolution process, right? So if you and I have a dispute and someone steps in as a mediator, they're helping us arrive at a solution, which is not an adversarial process at all. So very rarely do you see people going back to the formal court system after people have collaboratively arrived at a settlement, a solution, or resolution. Arbitration is also, it's an adversary, there's like hearing involved, evidence involved, and adjudication happens. And it is recognized by law. So there are limitations under which you can appeal an arbitration order, etc. So it's legally binding. Even the courts refer cases to mediation. Contracts, so even the Sahmati, like the framework, refers to mediation and arbitration, allowing for this mechanism to happen. So what we're essentially doing is bringing in different ways to plug into the ecosystem and make it more mainstream, as opposed to it something that people have to go to a court,
Yeah,
right?
and
Or someone has to go somewhere.
so I'm also a lawyer, so you basically,
Yeah.
instead of retired judges doing arbitration, it'll be a tech
Yes.
basically.
So also, like, I mean, when we think about dispute resolution or law, we often think about like experts and like a space that we can't connect with, right? But if it had to be made more accessible and younger people, and not just lawyers but non-lawyers coming into dispute resolution, and also like experts in this space would be better resolved to resolve disputes, right? So like more people training to be a mediator, arbitrator in this space is another way to also approach it. So essentially, yes, you're right.
Thank you.
I see someone's hand up there.
Yeah, hello. I am Akash from SBI. So my question is, like, are we looking forward for a citizen service, or it will be an enterprise kind of offering for this dispute resolution?
Could you help me understand that?
Sorry, just for example, will the offerings from this dispute resolution platform will be serving the citizens, like two individuals are having dispute, they can register and get it arbitrated, or it will be a more of an enterprise kind of like some two business get into a dispute and resolve
Both.
it?
So the people right behind you are laughing. There's people there. So essentially, the ODR institutions are, there's three ways to think about dispute resolution that I can think of right now, four maybe, right? Directly for citizens. So if any citizen has any dispute, a land dispute, family dispute, matrimonial dispute, that they want to settle, a business dispute, they want to settle outside of courts, they can access any of the institutions. If you have, you can even go through an enterprise. So Mr. Pramod Rao here was also involved in ICICI Bank adopting online dispute resolution, right? So where many disputes from ICICI Bank, they said, here are these disputes, reach out to the customers and take them to resolve, like figure out what the process of resolution can look like. And many e-commerce platforms have also put disputes into ODR institutions. Third is like through digital ecosystems that are coming up like this, right? Like where users are directed into ODR. And fourth is from the government, judiciary, Lok Adalat perspective as well. So the ODR institutions are collaborating with the state institutions to say when disputes come to you, you can redirect them to an ecosystem of ODR institutions that can also resolve disputes.
Okay, thank you.
I see one. I have one more minute, so one more question. Oh. Yeah, there's no dispute.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you think blockchain-based smart contracts are a solution to disputes?
They enable it for sure, right? Especially in being able to track evidence and documentation, etc. So I know some people in the community are working on it. I would love to catch up with you, know more, and tell you about what's happening. But it's an enabler for dispute resolution for sure. Someone else, I think, had their hands up.
Anyone? I think Vamsi wants to talk.
Okay.
No?
Yeah, I mean,
he wants to compliment you. I think.
that too.
Yeah.
But before that, when SBI is in the room, and Akash is a friend, you have to use that as an opportunity to say a couple of things. Akash, better. Thanks so much. Now, I want to say three things. One is, I think personally, as a Sahmati member, I really feel like this is one of the most important topics, and we've not moved at the pace that we would have loved to. Mr. Pramod Rao is here. He's been the architect of the entire thought process. It is codified in the participation terms, ODR as a concept, and left to the ecosystem to execute. We have a wonderful set of empaneled ODR providers who are bringing in all the tech. It is just the stitching that's required, plus the intent in the network to sort of start believing this is a new way of doing things, not the only way, but certainly there's enough traction that the likes of Agami have shown for this to happen, right? So why I mentioned SBI is obviously if SBI does something, the whole world in the financial institution in India will do it. So this is my attempt at pitching this to SBI right now. But I think the second point I want to say is there is a certain pattern to the sessions here. And I think we have enough people today that understand how to build great journeys, notwithstanding all the problems that IDEO found. I think there's enough, sort of knowledge out there. But I think what I've realized is that customer experience now is a function of three things, which three sessions today have covered, right? I think one is API health, not spoken, as much as we would love to. We all think it's an arcane topic. Tech, only a set of elite people understand it. But I think it's time now for all of us to understand enough about APIs, right? Likewise, I think grievance redressal, we all as citizens and as customers experience it every day, but when it comes to grievance redressals or discussions around grievance redressal, we tend to make that the domain of, oh, this is lawyers, and they will figure this out, or participation terms will figure it out, or terms and conditions. I think it's now time for us to sort of bring that into our mainstream thinking. And as Sahmati, the reason I'm saying all this is we would love to have volunteers to sort of put this, just like the whole AA ecosystem has come together, like I said in the morning, with a bunch of fresh minds and fresh thoughts. I think these topics need that impetus. And lastly, I am, yes, a fan of the work that Agami has done, that Keerthana, in particular. I must credit Pramod for the introduction. When I first heard of Agami, they did a lovely event a few weeks ago, March, in Bangalore, which gave us a lot of ideas as to how to have a wonderful community-based event, and I think we're still learning. Thank you for being a partner, and thank you for doing what you do.